Hello, welcome to Ritz Astrology. I'm your host, Colby Ritt, and today we're going to talk about something that drives some people crazy, like the person doing my editing on this thing. Oops. We're going to talk about the moon and how it affects people and their personality. So, the moon represents our inner world, our emotionality, our, to put it in terms of, put it another way, Cafe Astrology says the moon indicates our emotional need. Where it falls in the house, too, it indicates our emotional need for recognition, popularity, acknowledgement, and achievement. But it's also, the moon is reactive, and the moon is emotionally habitual. So where it is in your chart kind of represents that. So today we're going to talk about that. And before we get started too much, I want to quickly ask you, do you know that the moon changes signs every 2.5 days? So you could be an Aries sun, but you could have a Capricorn moon, or you could be an Aries sun and you could have a Leo moon. Because within 30 days, it goes through every single sign. It's the fastest moving element out there in astrology compared to, say, everything but the ascendant. It changes signs every day. And it changes signs through all the signs in a single day. The moon does it in a month. That's why a month's called a month. Month, right? Okay. So let's get started. Here we have the moon phases. If you watch, they're going through the signs one at a time every 2.5 days. And as they progress from a new moon to a full moon. Now I want you to notice that the new moon, in this case we have it in Capricorn, goes to it goes through all the signs until it gets to the full moon in its opposite sign, which is Cancer. Now this pertains to any zodiac. It could be a new moon in Leo. It goes to Aquarius for the opposite full moon. Right now it's moving through. It goes from new moon, waxing, to full moon, back down to waning, down to another new moon to the next month and the next zodiac sign. Now let's look at this again. And you notice in the Capricorn, it's at the same sign as the sun, so there's not much light on it. And that's a totally different personality than what you're going to see in the full moon or the other aspects. The next really important part of the moon phases is the first quarter moon, and that's going to be in Aries, and that's going to be square of Capricorn. We move on again, and then after that we go to an opposition. In the opposition, it's a full moon. New moon to full moon, they're opposite signs. In this case, and a different personality and a different a lot more energy and a sense of completeness. Next one coming up is going to be, the next main one is going to be in Libra, and that's square Cancer and square Capricorn, and that is the next quarter moon. These quarter moons are pretty stressful periods, but they're also periods of productivity or, in this case, reflection. And then we move on all the way down. It wanes and wanes until there's no more light. And we begin a new cycle in the new moon of Aquarius. And notice how the moons have shifted. And the full moon now is Leo, the opposite of Aquarius. And the quarter moon, in this case, will be Taurus, square Aquarius, square Leo. And the next quarter moon, the third quarter moon, will be Scorpio, square Leo, and square Leo, square Aquarius, and opposite Taurus. But now we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about this in a more astronomical way and skip the astrological jargon. Regardless of what sign your natal moon is in, you also have to pay attention to the moon phase. For example, my moon is in Capricorn, but my sun is in Aries. I was born with a third quarter moon, a reflective moon, in my fifth house, we will look at the phases of the moon and discuss each phase and how they affect people born under each phase. So pay attention because you were born under one of these phases. New moon people are born when the sun and the moon are in the same zodiac sign as we talked about, but the moon is dark and not visible. These people are born during a phase where they may have to learn strong intuition. Over life, they learn to trust the instincts and intuition. This energy makes them self-reliant. They are here to experience new experiences and recognize new opportunities. This dynamic does not necessarily show someone who is a finisher, though. They are initiators, enthusiastic, but they may need to develop some follow-through. These are idea people. So as we move into the next phase, the waxing crescent moon person, they begin to create structure from the ideas that you might have seen in the new moon person. So they begin to create structure. They begin to create opportunities. This moon is beginning to be touched by light. So they're beginning to see vision or create vision, create opportunity from vision. They are often naturally positive and beginning to learn faith even in the face of difficulties. They possess some of the inspired energy of the new moon and they begin to get some of the slightly stressful, tenacious energy of the first quarter moon. So now we're into the first quarter moon, and the first quarter moon person often feels the need to prove themselves, and they are trying to develop their intuitive process and bring new opportunities to life. They feel a crisis of struggling to succeed. Now we all feel that, but that's a big part of their personality. In this phase, the sun and the moon form a square at 90 degrees, which increases this feeling of tension. The moon sign and the sun sign are square, and the moon is still waxing. They possess a natural tension which pushes them to take action and remain motivated in the face of struggle. They are very determined. Now we move on to the waxing gibbous moon. This is the moon phase just before the full moon. And in this phase, a person who has been struggling and fighting and being tenacious now has a deeper understanding of planning and preparation. They're slightly more introspective than the previous moon phase people. During the waxing gibbous moon, the light from the moon provides for some deeper introspection, which is not evident in the new moon person. This moon phase also encourages individual development and growth. The person born under the waxing gibbous moon may develop many different skills throughout their lives. They may do this with the help of a mentor and may become mentors themselves. Now we move on to the full moon. And this is, of course, we all know full moons are the big one. And people born under this one, they have reached a full sense of completeness of their emotional self, and they are now feeling emotionally whole, and they want to share this with somebody. So kind of like the waxing gibbous moon is a progression, and they seek mentors at the end, and they become a mentor. In this case, now it's more of an equal. They're seeking equal relationship with others, and they're looking for that emotional connection. It's a big part of who they are, and so they're going to be, a little more expressive, a little more social in general, depending on the sign, of course. And they intensely focus on partnerships and relationships. Now we move on to the waning gibbous moon. We've gone through we've gone through the full moon where they're seeking partnerships. The waning gibbous moon has part of that energy, but they're beginning to find separation as the darkness begins to set in. And so they're becoming a little more reflective. What are they learning from relationships? What are they experienced? What have they experienced, and how has it affected them? And has it been worth it? So they begin to look at that. They're still into the relationship thing, but they begin to assess relationships and so on. The next moon phase is the last quarter moon, and it is a square to the new moon and a square to the full moon. So it's a little more stressful than the waning gibbous moon, which is beginning to become reflective and beginning to separate. It's separating more. People born under this moon phase experience dramatic shifts in personality and perspective later in their lives. They may want to abandon what they once knew, and they diverge off into some new direction. The past is being let go, and intuition leads them to assess the work towards what they have been fated to do, unlike what they've done. They've been fated to do something, now they're going to go back to that. And unlike the first quarter moon, which is about not giving up and pushing things, the last quarter moon is more about accepting your true life path. And sometimes that creates stress with people around you who kind of wonder, what's happened to this person? They're moving on. But for the person who's doing that, it's a positive thing. Now, the last moon phase we move into before going back to a new moon in another sign is the waning crescent moon. And the waning crescent moon person is often wise, sometimes wise beyond their years, deep thinkers. They love nostalgia. They're good teachers and so on. And they seek higher truths and esoteric knowledge. They're less about doing and creating something full, but they like to reflect on life. So what have we learned about the moon? We know that it goes through a full cycle in a month, approximately a month, through that astrological cycle, that astronomy cycle. And we know that it goes from a new moon when the sun is at the same degree as the moon, to a full moon when the sun is at the opposite of the moon, back to a new moon where the next sun sign coming in and the next new moon coming in. So we also learned that different impacts of the sun on the moon, i.e. a new moon compared to a full moon, compared to a gibbous moon, gibbous waxing, gibbous waning, and so on, and a quarter moon, and so on, impacts a person's personality. Someone born under one of those phases of the moon are going to carry some of those traits. What we haven't talked about, and we're going to talk about in our next video, is how the signs and the house where the moon is impactful. And if you've seen my ascendant video, you'll know that just because you have a moon in Capricorn doesn't mean it's in the 10th house, or doesn't mean anything like that. It just means that you have a moon in Capricorn. It could be in the 4th house, it could be in the 7th house, and it's going to impact that area with your emotionality and your need for safety and your ability to nurture in that area. So without further ado, look forward to the next video. This is Colby Root, your host of Root Astrology, signing off. Be well and have a good rest of the day.